courting in Appalachia. Nowadays we just call it dating. But back then, I've even heard it called sparking, setting up, getting hitched, jumping the broom even when they got married. And these old people, our elders, the people that we looked up to, raised us, they can tell so many stories. And they was young ones too. How did they meet? We all like to sit and watch and talk to our grandmother, tell us stories, and we'd ask her how they met, how he met Grandpa, how they met each other, our parents, or our grandparents. Now to me, this brings back old memories back of what they call leap year. And what is leap year? Leap year is when they add every 4 years an extra day in February, the 29th. And what's this got to do with courting? Well, there's a lot of traditions come out of this old superstition, an old tradition called leap year. And leap year, it's just something they add to the calendar every 4 years, an extra day, so to keep the seasons in time. If not, the seasons would be off as time went on by the old calendars that they started. And here in these old mountains, so many traditions come out of this old leap year. Funny traditions too. There used to be an old cartoon, it's still around, of little Abner. And it was just a way of making fun of us country people, I always thought. Like a bunch of old hillbillies and mountain people. But a lot of little old cartoons, and it is pretty good to watch and read every once in a while in the comic strips. But they used to have it when I went to school, back in the day. They would have little things like this. This is a dance for Sadie Hawkins Day is what they called it. When the tradition was, this is when the boys would be chased by the girls. And they would have dances, and they would even have little festivals too, races and stuff around the school. I don't know if this ever happens anymore. But this was just a time to get the young couples together. The girls chasing the boys, just an old tradition, old mountain tradition. I don't even know if it still happens now today. But this was just a way that I was always growed up in school. And our elders, they could tell us all these little stories of romance and love and how they met. And it really surprises me too. Really surprises me. Most of them, they just somebody they growed up with or got to know or got fond of that lived on the next farm over, or somebody they met just down the road most of the time in these rural Appalachians, these small towns. Somebody they got to know, their neighbors, farms, friends, and most of them went to school together. And they got to know each other. And some had crushes on this little boy or this girl. That was just part of life, and it still is today. And they was always just cutting up between the girls and the boys. And it seemed like it was so easy to have a crush on a girl. And they would usually walk each other home, be friends, play together all the time. Old times. But you talk to your elders, like my grandmother, I would talk to her. Well, how'd you get to meet Grandpa? You know, and they would open up and tell you every once in a while these old stories. Old stories. Now you got to understand, in these rural areas, in these mountains especially, the girls grew up fast in the house. They helped mom and helped the family. They learned to cook, care for the house, wash the clothes, iron. They growed up fast in these mountain rural areas. The women and the girls did. they learned to be a woman. And they took care of the family. And in these mountains, as these girls grew up, they wanted to start a family of their own as time went on. And that's when they started courting. But the boys were kind of backwards. But anyway, as they grew up and they met certain special people, they would take them out on dates, a drive-in or something, or out to see a movie theater. But you got to remember, there was always chaperones. These girls never was by themselves, that's for sure. And most were just people they knowed and growed up with or they met in church. A lot of little stories of how they met their special person, their wife-to-be or husband, in a church. And most of them, they didn't have nothing. They couldn't afford no big fancy wedding. So they would just go down after going together for a certain while. Till they decided to get married, they'd go down to the courthouse. Or they'd go to the family church, or where they met, or where the family growed up to get married. Nowadays, they just go down to the little old chapels, wedding chapels, throughout the country in these little towns, and they would get married if they could afford it. Places like this, small little weddings for the family. But most, sad to say, some don't even get married anymore. And most of the people in these rural country areas, they didn't have nothing starting out at all, but they had each other. And you're lucky you had a job, so you just started from scratch, and you built year after year as you did your family. And some of these people in these mountains, I can contest to this, married for 40, 50, 60, even 70 years, if the good Lord give them that much time on earth. And love does last forever. So I'm going to share with you a few little stories that love does last forever. And yes, there's always that question, how do you know? Used to ask my elders, how do you know when you see that special someone? Well, some people never do. But I did. And my grandfather and grandmother would say that they know. When you see that special person, you don't know. You can't explain it. It's just a gift from the good Lord that when you lay your eyes on your partner, you'll know it. You won't know it at the time, but you'll notice something's different. So I'm going to share with you a few little stories here of how love does last forever. The first up is the story of old Bill Heath. I'd done a video on him, on his life. He's 92 years old. And I asked him how he met his wife, and here's his story. How did you meet your wife, old buddy?
Well, I don't know if you know this country or not, but down in Leatherwood, there's a log church down there.
Yeah, I know.
You know where it is?
I know it. Took pictures of it. Yeah, been down there.
Okay. I got a cousin lived down there, was named Inez. Heck, she was one of the Coonrod bunch. She was my cousin. And Jenny, here, I hear her, she is too. She come over to stay a week with Inez. And me and Bob and Don Keck, we run around together some on the weekends. You know, we'd go to church and stuff looking for girls. That's what we wasn't trying to learn about Christ and stuff like that. We was looking for girls, you know.
Yeah.
So, this was meant to be. This was meant to be a thing. Me and Bob and Don there one Sunday evening. I said, let's go down to Leatherwood and see what's down there tonight, Sunday night. We went down there, looked in the window, and there sat Jenny with my cousin. I like the looks of her, We went in and just sat down behind them, just kind of see what all was going on. And when church was over, I come outside, there. And Inez was there. I said, Inez, ask her if I can walk up that holler with you on tonight. I don't know where you know the place or not, but there's a holler runs right straight back behind that log church up there. It's over a mile up there. To Inez, Spencer and Inez. Spencer was her dad. He was one of the coonrod bunch. So I walked her up there. We was pretty backward, both of us. We didn't say nothing much, just, But I kind of looked, like the looks of her, and she did me. So we got up there, and we didn't say nothing much or nothing. We just, we just kind of looked at each other and didn't say much of nothing. But anyway, I went home after the big two-store, and they didn't have no phone. So she wrote me a letter, asked me to take her to Powell Valley home.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I will. But Inez and Patsy Collins went with me. We took her over, went over by and down Powell Valley, down the mountain, down there to Speedwell. And we took her down there, and we come on back. Patsy and Inez was with me, They wouldn't, they was pretty strict with their girls back in them days. I guess you know that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you had to have somebody with them about all the time.
Chaperone, yeah.
But anyway, we come back, and she wrote me a letter, and she wrote me a letter every week till we married. 3 or 4 years after that, I'd get a letter every week.
So it's about 3 years, 4 years before you married after you met her, and she wrote you a letter every week for
She wrote me a letter, yeah.
For almost 4 years till you got married.
I'd say 4 or 5 years I went with her. I don't know. Zach, I could give you the time. It'd take me a little time to figure it all out.
Well, how long was y'all married, Bill?
Huh?
How long was you married?
Well, I was married till she died with cancer.
Well, there's old Bill's story. So many other stories like this throughout this area. But he was said to told me that he'd married 53 years. Now this next story is a little rebel of the Gap when he's an adult. He's my father, my dad, and he told me so many stories. And if you don't know nothing about the little rebel of the Gap, well, you don't know what you're missing. But anyway, here's an interview that a local TV station done a few years before he died on Valentine's Day. So I hope you enjoy.
Seems like when you're happy and everything's going fine, time flies.
And that's why Marion Laws can't believe he's already 82 years old, still holding hands with Pat, the love of his life. Flash flashback to the 1950s. Marion says he was a wild guy, crazy about hot rods and rock and roll, until he laid his eyes on this 15-year-old when he walked into a restaurant.
I seen her standing over there. And I told my buddies, I said, well, my racing days is over. I fell in love with her. I really did. I don't know what happened to me, or I never felt like that before in my life. But I guess it was love.
I looked up and he kind of winked at me. He was sitting over there eating at that little table.
They were so in love, they chose Tazewell to get married in, because back then it took you only 1 day to get a marriage license there. Every other place it took 3 days.
And we were just in heaven, you know, and we were just in love, and she couldn't cook a lick. So, but anyway, we didn't care. We didn't care, we was together. And even today, I love her just as much, if not more.
Their romance, even after all these years, amusing their 4 kids, 7 grandkids, and 6 great-grandkids. So in light of Valentine's Day, we wanted to find out this couple's secret to keeping their flame alive.
I think it's genuine love and not nothing else is what makes a good marriage, and understanding, working things out. Be honest. Be honest, work things out together, never do anything out of the ordinary, you know, keep loving, telling each other you love them, keep going, but don't stray away from that.
You have little, you know, spats, but you just stay in there and hang in there and work things out.
So there you have it, the basics from a pair still crazy about each other even after nearly 6 decades. But with a love so strong comes a concern at this stage of their life.
That's the only thing that's on our minds. I know we're getting on the age where one of us is going to have to leave the other, and that is heartbreaking. But I believe what the Bible says. I believe that death is just a channel that we go through to be to heaven. And God promised we'll be together throughout eternity. Now, we're holding on to that promise. That's what keeps us going.
Well, there you go. The little rebel of the Gap. Him and my mom was married 62 years before he passed on to meet the Lord. But anyway, his memory lives on through his stories, and he told me so many of them. So, there you go. The little rebel of the Gap. Now, for this final story, I'll share my personal experience of things that was just meant to be that I can't explain. And as a younger man in my late teens, I'd work these farms, doing backer, putting up hay, whatever I had to do to make some extra money. And before that, as a really young man, I started out mowing grass for a couple dollars here, picking up pop bottles and stuff like that. Even had a paper route when I started high school for a little bit. And this is where I met the person that I was supposed to meet for the rest of my life. One weekend, on collecting the weekly fee of the paper, she came to the door. And when I seen her, I'd never seen her in my life, but when I seen her, I just know something was special, something was different. I can't explain it. It's just a gift that the good Lord gave me that I can't explain. But anyway, this is my childhood sweetheart. We've been together since high school. This year will be our 50th wedding anniversary. And after kids and grandkids, we're still happily married. So I hope you enjoy these little stories. Our elders, some is just meant to be. And I can't explain what I just explained to you. It just happens. Well, anyway, love never dies. Love lasts forever. So I hope you enjoy these little heart stories from our Appalachians and the rural areas. So God bless, take care, and I'll see you next time.